Whether you are a player making a new character or a dungeon master starting up a new campaign, this questionnaire will help you build an interesting and fleshed out character that is ready to jump straight into your Dungeons & Dragons game. Ahoy everyone, I'm Nazir North, welcome to the channel. In this video I'm going to introduce you to the Character Creation Questionnaire, a free tool you can use to help you make a great player character. No more of these one-dimensional I must kill every monster I see paladins, or these edgy rogues that have no family or friends, or lone wolf rangers that have no connection to the game setting or the rest of the party. This tool is a series of questions and prompts that can help you shape your character ideas into something iconic and memorable. If you're anything like me, I'm constantly coming up with new character concepts, and the questionnaire is a great way to note these down and give those ideas some structure. In this video I'm going to run through all 32 questions from the questionnaire and talk about how you can use it to make better characters for your game. But first, how can you get a hold of your own copy of the questionnaire? You might want to run through it yourself as we talk through it in the video. This questionnaire started out as something I just used in my own game prep, but after I shared it with the D&D community, it's now become a silver medal bestseller on the Dungeon Masters Guild, and it's just received a big update to improve and refine some of the questions. And even though the questionnaire was designed with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition in mind, it can be very easily adapted to work for any tabletop role-playing game in any setting. The questionnaire is free to download. I've added a link to it in the description below the video. Like most titles on the DM's Guild, it operates on a pay-what-you-want system, but you can just pop a 0 in that box and download it. It's completely free. Once you do so, you'll get a version that you can edit digitally, or if you prefer old school paper sheets, you can download a printer-friendly version as well. Okay, now that you know how to get a hold of and to download the questionnaire, let's run through it together. The first section is for the Dungeon Master. If you were the DM for this game, use this page to add in a little information on the campaign setting. Is it an official D&D setting like Eberron or the Forgotten Realms, or is it homebrew, something you may have come up with yourself? Are there any race or class restrictions for this campaign, or any homebrew rules that the players need to know before they start to build their character? If so, add that information in here. If you are the player picking up this questionnaire, these are some important things to ask your DM before you get too deep into character creation. They need to tell you this stuff. The next section is all for the players to fill in. Some of it you might want to work through on your own, some of it you might want to work through with your Dungeon Master. Part 1 is character basics. Mostly the stuff that you will eventually need for your character sheet later on when you actually roll or assign your ability scores. Think carefully when you pick your alignment. You may want to check in with your DM or the other players to see what alignments they are going to choose. Some internal party conflict can be fun at times, but for a long-term campaign, which most D&D games are, you are probably going to want party members with broadly similar goals and moral values. That doesn't mean they all need to be the same alignment though in order to work together as a party, but if you do have a lawful good paladin of Pelo and a chaotic evil warlock of Asmodeus in the same party, they may not get on very well. Also, remember the DM is well within their rights to specify or restrict alignments at the point of character creation. For example, if the DM is running a classic adventuring party saves the kingdom from the big bad evil necromancer type campaign, then they may decide to ban evil alignments for player characters. And that's absolutely fine, it's the DM's prerogative to do that if they choose. The other thing to remember about alignment is that it is fluid. Even a lawful neutral character who always abides by the tenets of their faith, for example, may slip up now and then, or they may let their empathy get the best of them and let the bad guy surrender and live rather than killing them on the spot. You can act outside of your alignment now and then without your overall alignment changing. And your alignment of course can change over the length of a campaign. For example, your paladin may start off as lawful good, and over the course of the game they become neutral good. Their ideals and moral values are mostly the same, but maybe through experience they come to learn that having fixed rules doesn't always work, and individual and situational judgment is needed to work out what is right and good in each situation. Alignment changes can make for interesting long-term character arcs. And last point on alignment, you don't actually have to write it down. For some styles of game, you can just play your character according to their personality, ideals, bonds and flaws and not worry about alignment at all. That is going to be a decision for the DM to take though for the game as a whole. If other characters have written their alignment down, you probably need to as well. Part 2 is all about the character's appearance. You can write a description here or add an image. Some artwork can really help bring a character to life, but don't worry if you can't draw. Even a simple sketch is fine, or you can just borrow an image from the internet if you can find one that looks like your character. Equally, if you've got a bit of money to spend, you could commission a professional artist to draw up a character portrait for you. Websites like Fiverr are great for this kind of stuff, and they're relatively cheap as well. And if you're just playing a home game with some friends and you aren't looking to publish or broadcast your game in any way, there are even some AI tools you can use here to generate an image as well, like the Bing AI image creator. They can generate a character portrait for you in seconds based on a text prompt. Part 3 of the questionnaire is where we really start to draw out a character concept into a fleshed out, living and breathing person. This is all about personality and behaviour. If you've already picked a background from the player's handbook or another source, you may want to pick your personality traits, ideals, bonds and flaws before starting this section, as they will help you fill this out. Okay, let's go through each of the questions in this section one at a time. How do you interact with other people? This question is all about your character's social presence. Think about things like introversion and extroversion, confidence, nervousness, anxiety. What is your character like around other people? What do people notice about you during conversation? Is your character a good listener, for example? How do they handle social encounters? Are you a leader or a follower? Now, a party can have more than one character with leadership qualities, and not every adventuring party needs a single leader. Maybe certain characters take charge in some situations and different characters take charge in other situations. Have a think about what it would take for your character to become a leader, and what qualities another person might have to have for you to follow them. What motivates you to work in a group? This is probably the most important thing to ask yourself when you make a character. D&D is fundamentally a cooperative game. Whatever character you make has to be willing to work with other members of the party. It's no good creating a lone wolf type character for D&D who just wants to go off and do everything on their own and doesn't care about others. If that's the experience you want, go and play a video game. D&D is all about working as a team. So think about why your character wants to be a part of the group. What do you believe in? Unlike in the real world, most D&D settings have definitive proof that gods, demons, devils, and other supernatural beings exist. So it makes sense that everyone would believe in something. But you don't have to just focus on the god or gods your character follows. Think about the relationship your character has with their faith. Do they believe their god has a plan for them? Do they believe in fate? Or are they trying to achieve something to gain their god's favour? Or even just be noticed by them? Or maybe your character believes that the gods don't actually care about mortals and that people should focus on solving their own problems themselves. How do you feel about helping others? This really is a question about morals, and you need to consider this alongside your alignment. Fundamentally, most Dungeons & Dragons games will involve you helping others. There may be rewards for your service like gold or magic items, but sometimes people may simply ask for your help, and that could be the whole basis of a plot hook. With whom do you form the strongest bonds? If you've rolled or chosen from the bond table on your background, you may already have an answer to this. But you could also talk about wider relationships and bonds in this section. Does the character have a bond with somebody from their hometown, for example? A friend, a former colleague or mentor, or perhaps a romantic partner? What are your flaws? This is another one that the tables from your chosen background can help you with. Flaws are an important part of character development and are too often missed out. You do need to be careful though that you don't choose flaws that contradict the nature of the game. For example, if you create a mute character, that's going to get pretty old really fast as you're not going to be able to communicate with the rest of the group. And don't make a character whose flaw is that they don't like fighting or violence. While that might seem interesting for a session or two, a huge part of D&D is effectively combat simulation, so that kind of character just doesn't work. Flaws with mechanical implications can also be interesting, such as a character with a fear of fire, spiders, or snakes, which could result in them having to make a wisdom saving throw in the game, or become frightened when they encounter the source of their fear. If you do want a mechanical flaw associated with your character, just make sure you discuss that with the DM first, so you can both be clear on the rules you're going to set for it. Part 4 is about your character's history. For some people, when they make a character, it's really tempting to just say, yep, I'm an orphan, no siblings, no friends, it's just me trying to make my way in the world. That is lazy, and worse, it's boring. You need to find ways to connect your character to the world that you're going to be playing in. Special places, important NPCs, and events from your past are the way to do that. Now, this being said, if you know from the get-go that the campaign your DM is designing is just going to be a meat grinder, dungeon crawl after dungeon crawl, constant combat, very little roleplay, with a high player character death rate, then fair enough, this section is probably not as important for that kind of game. But for most campaigns, this is what adds that spark to make your character special and unique. Some of the questions here are pretty basic, covering where your character is from and information about their family, but some of these push you to dig a bit deeper. For example, how did you become whatever class you've chosen to play as? Were you born with some kind of innate ability? Were you self-taught, or did you have a teacher? Have you ever been in a fight before? Most level 1 characters probably aren't grizzled war veterans, but more likely amateur, fresh-faced adventurers experiencing many things for the first time. Have you ever done something bad, something you regret, or something you still carry guilt for? And did this put you on the wrong side of the law? What is something you've accomplished that you're proud of? What does your character think they're good at or has done well? And lastly, this section has a specific part asking you to name at least 2 people you know that are still alive. That's 2 NPCs for the player to create, and these help you connect your character to the game setting. Plus, it gives your DM ways to integrate your background story into the campaign. Part 5 of the questionnaire is about your character's goals and aspirations. Why are they out adventuring? What are they trying to achieve? There are 3 parts to this: short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. Short-term goals might be the things that got you into adventuring in the first place, the reason your character left the house. Maybe you wanted to visit a certain location, meet a certain person, or just get out and experience the world. Short-term goals should be things your character can reasonably achieve at fairly low levels of play. Medium-term goals link to your wider aspirations as a character and may form a part of your background. For example, are you seeking to track down someone who wronged you, find a lost family member, or find a magical artifact that is important to your hometown in some way? These goals should be things that your character knows will take a long time to achieve. Weeks, months, maybe even years. And they know that they may need to become stronger or make strong allies in order to achieve them. These are the kind of goals that you might achieve in mid-level play. Long-term goals are your dreams and grand ideals about the world. Do you want to become the best wizard in the land? Do you want to rid your home country of its tyrant king, maybe placing yourself on the throne? Do you want to completely destroy a corrupt religion that has been taking advantage of the common people? These goals are things you know may take an entire lifetime to achieve, even if they're possible at all. They represent the ultimate realization of your character's long-term desires. As you play out your campaign, it may be worth revisiting this section now and then, maybe every 5 levels or so, to see if your goals have changed, and update them if they have. And finally, part 6 is just a free form section for you to add in any additional information you like. This could be a timeline of your character's life, a family tree, a small story about an important event they witnessed. This part is entirely yours to either leave blank or add whatever you want. So that's the questionnaire. I'll add a few general words of advice before we finish up. Speak to the other players and consider linking your backgrounds together. Sometimes a campaign can really hit the ground running if some of the characters already know each other. Maybe they are brother and sister, or they work together on a job in the past. This kind of connection can make for some interesting interactions and storylines. If you are struggling with ideas, leave the questionnaire and return to it again in a few days. Sometimes the first idea you come up with isn't always the best idea. Do a first pass on the questionnaire, leave it for a little while and then come back. Read through it again and edit it, change it and add to it as you see fit. Often our best ideas come after the fact, when we've had some extra time to let things sit and ferment and evolve in our heads, generating some new and better ideas over time. And lastly, this is mainly advice for our Dungeon Masters. This questionnaire doesn't replace the need for a Session 0. Even if all the players fill in this sheet, a Session 0 is still really important for most campaigns. This is where you can work out if the players are going to get along with one another, and if the style of the game that you are designing as the DM is one that the players actually want to play. Another core part of that Session 0, which this questionnaire won't cover, is themes and controversial topics. There are many reasons why players may have some things they're not comfortable having in the game. Maybe things like slavery, body horror, or even romance. And there always needs to be that discussion with the players and the DM, and this isn't something that a questionnaire on a piece of paper can replace. This, of course, is far more important if you're playing with strangers or new players. This kind of stuff is a lot easier to manage if you're playing with friends you've known for over a decade, but it's still worth checking in on this stuff regardless. To keep the character discussion going, leave a comment below. What's your favourite character idea you've come up with? Maybe it's one you haven't even had a chance to play as yet. And are there any other questions that you think it's important to consider when building a new character? Perhaps something that I've missed out. That's going to be it for this one. If you're looking for something to watch next, I'll leave some suggestions on the end screen. I hope this video has been helpful for you. If it has, remember to hit that like button and to subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the future. And if you go ahead and download a copy of the Character Creation Questionnaire from the Dungeon Masters Guild, remember to leave a rating, 5 stars if you're feeling generous, over on DM's Guild too. Cheers everyone, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.